call this meeting to order. It is 6:34 on March the 8th, and this is a special city council meeting, not the regularly scheduled one. I will do roll call. Mayor Pro Tem Villalobos. Here. Councilmember Bunker.
Here.
Councilmember Shell Allen. Is she up there?
Unless it's the dial-in number.
Councilmember McLeod.
Here.
Councilmember Clinton.
Here.
And I'm Mayor Glaze. Okay, if you would stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. We need to move the flag, don't we? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And to the Texas flag, I pledge
Allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, and I will have a little invocation. Heavenly Father, thank you for your guidance. Forgive me for getting ahead of your plans and help me know when to stop and listen for your direction. Your ways are perfect, Lord. Thank you for offering gentle grace. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. Okay, any public comments?
None.
Okay, so I don't think we need to go into executive session. I need to explain why I wanted to have this meeting. So the job description for the new position is, I sent in the email. And what I'm concerned about is that after reading this, the second or third time, the first time I just kind of glanced at it, but I'm concerned that it would require that the city council approve this person instead of just hiring them. And I kind of want to explain a little bit of what is going on. So when we started talking about a permit person, I was thinking of a kind of a clerical person that would just process the permits, like for garages and driveways and stuff like that. When we get somebody that comes in that wants a building permit, we have to first determine if they really do need one. And most of the time they do, because that's why they're in asking for it. And then after they submit their application, then we have to decide, how complicated it is. Often it's just right here in the office, and we process it. We send the information to the Bureau of Veritas, and they'll come back and they'll tell us. They give us this little scorecard kind of thing, and they'll tell us, yeah, go ahead and do the permit. And these are the inspections you'll need. And then you just kind of have to dog everything. You have to make sure they get the inspections that are required, and you collect the fees and everything. If it's more complicated, then it kind of goes up the ladder. Like if somebody's asking zoning questions or things like that, then we send those applications to planning and zoning to look at. And they kind of take it from there and do what they need to do. If it's even more complicated than what planning and zoning can do, then it goes to Jared. Because a lot of times then that's like development agreements and stuff like that. So I brought my visual. So I've been doing permits because Sylvia's going to retire and she's trying to get caught up on all the minutes and the things that she needs to. So this is my little working box and when I have a contact, doesn't mean everybody in here has a permit. It means that they've come in and they've talked to me. And like the people down at the church, Holy Ground Church, they came in 6 or 8 months, well, 6 months ago, I guess, and talked to us. So I had made a file for them. This one right here, that's the only commercial permit. And of course, that's the building across the street. So it's taking up a third of the box. So then we kind of keep track, and we just, if we have emails, we try to do everything by address, and we just have to keep track of every stage of what's going on, make sure the inspections are done and everything. So like I say, it's a lot of clerical work, a lot of daily grind, just making sure that everybody, gets what they need, the citizens who are getting their permits. So that's where I was coming from with wanting to hire a permit person.
Can I ask you a question then about this?
Sure.
So you explained that it is taking up a percentage of your work week or your time.
Oh, yes, yes.
And that is something that, I mean, you've learned more about it, of course. But you find then that because it takes up a considerable amount of your time, that the response time from people that are asking for the permits is more lengthy than it should be? Or do you think you're responding in an appropriate amount of time? Or
I think we're responding in an appropriate amount of time. I mean, because in the ordinances, you only have so many days. When you get that application, you have to deal with it right away. Or, whether you're sending it to planning and zoning or whether you're just dealing with it and going forward with it. The ordinances really dictate that you don't let it sit around.
But I thought like the people, Matthew, that it's had a request about some sewer or septic sewer.
Oh, but that's nothing to do with building permits.
Oh, okay.
That was open meetings requests
I see.
kind of thing.
Okay. Okay, Jan has a question.
Yes.
It says here, in our code, 150.006, permit application filing and fees, that all permit applications shall be made upon forms provided by the building official.
Yes.
And we've never had a building official since I've been on city council.
Well, that's one of the things that I'm going to talk about. So we're all working very hard. I'm not here to beat up anybody. I'm just trying to clarify what this job application is about and how involved, if the city council should be involved and how involved they should be.
Mayor, if I may, for the record, Lisa Shell Allen is in attendance. Thank you. Thank you.
Where does it say on the application here that, I mean, on the job description that the city council decides?
Well, let me explain.
Okay.
So I'm reading the job application and
You're on the application.
the job
Description.
description.
And this is the packet that you
Yeah.
provided.
It's there
Yes.
beneath there, the
Okay.
job description.
And when you look under general function and purpose, the title that the person is going to have is Director of Building, Planning and Development. So I was like, okay, where's the permit thing? My little permit job that I'm concerned about. As the Director of Building, Planning and Development, you will work under the general direction of the city administrator and oversee the city's municipal planning and zoning functions, evaluate land use proposals, participate in negotiation with developers, perform building and other permit functions, so there it is, respond to public inquiries regarding building and development related requirements, and work closely with the city engineer and the Planning and Zoning Commission. The Director of Building, Planning, and Development will be expected to fulfill the duties and responsibilities of the city's building official. That's where you, and then it goes on, zoning official, administrator, city planner, and historic preservation official. The Director of the Building, Planning, and Development may also serve as the city's floodplain administrator. So if you look at 155,035,
And it's in our packet.
no, that's not.
Oh, it's not in our packet.
This was, yeah, I have a.
Oh, okay, so that one is,
I
that
just
one
want to
is.
make sure I'm on that page.
So that's where it describes a building official. And here and a couple other places, it refers to the building official as being appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the city council. Saying that it's appointed by the city council. So this is where I said, okay, let's just take a minute and discuss this job application.
And again,
So-
I apologize, for being behind. I was, quite booked today, and I want to make sure that I'm up to speed with where we are, so
Okay,
pardon me if I ask extra questions.
that's okay. So in 150,003, it's talking about building inspections and talks again about the building inspector.
150.
Oh, 150.003, building inspections.
And
003.
under building official,
Now, this one is under, just under, yeah, just general provisions.
Building regulations.
Under the heading building inspections.
So our building inspections are done by Bureau of Veritas, but,
it's outsourced.
so it's outsourced. But the city will designate a person to have the authority of the building official under the codes adopted herein and under the provisions of this chapter. So there it's talking again about a building official. And I printed this out before I was even elected, so I may have old information. I'm not sure.
Those ordinances, to my knowledge, have not been changed since this was codified.
Yeah.
And that was in what year?
This I wrote on here was adopted August 3rd, 2021. I might have been referring to when this was changed from 2009 to 2021. So this would have
So,
been,
the section that's under review, the building inspection section, was passed in 2007. In, what did you say, August of 2021, the city passed an ordinance change that adopted the 2021 International Building Codes. And that's what was changed. It was in 150,002.
Right. And I will say that I did look up the attachments that were sent. And we have lots of years backwards. That one that you sent, building official from 2008, I do believe corresponds with the building inspections that was in 07. However, I did not see come through. Maybe we're not there yet, so if we're not there
yeah,
yet.
let me finish explaining.
Thank you.
So at 150.011, it talks about the Board of Adjustments. And it's in there saying appointed by the mayor and confirmed by city council. So this is where I'm getting,
That's referring to a body, referring to a board, not a person. Unless there's,
well, I think let me see.
Yeah, because it's got 3 members and 2
011.
alternatives.
150.009.
011.
011.
But that's for if there's appeals, correct?
Yeah, let me see here. It
Only if
says,
there's a P.
there is hereby established a Board of Adjustments and Appeals, which shall consist of 3 members and 2 alternates. The board and alternates shall be appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the city council. To the extent possible, the board members shall be residents of the city with knowledge and experience in the building trades. And then on number 4, it says the building
Oh,
official.
gotcha.
The building official or his or her appointee shall act as secretary of the board and shall make a detailed record of minutes and proceedings.
And when was that passed?
And, so, well, my point is that it's just referring that this, this job really should be brought before the city council, is what my point is. It has to be approved by city council.
So I think that to frame the conversation, is that the problem that we're trying to solve tonight?
We're just looking at the job. I was looking at the job and, just trying to determine how it's going to, if it's going to fulfill my needs of having a clerical person in the office, and if it's going to change how we actually do business. In the same page, it says coordinates activities on behalf of the Planning and Zoning Commission. That changes how we do business, because right now, when we get a building permit in, if it goes to the building, the P&Z, it just goes there and they deal with it.
And tell me which section you're in, because I didn't,
Oh, this
you're
is
talking,
the
you're looking at the job description.
The job description.
Thank you.
And so I was looking at that and how it changes what we do. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying, here it is. This is what this is. And I don't know if y'all looked at it or how you feel about it or anything like that.
And you was, that point on that job description was which one of those bullets?
This one coordinates activities on
Thank you.
behalf of planning and zoning.
Got it.
And, now,
May I describe what that means?
well, I was gonna point out one other thing, if I had it, where, it was under I'm not trying to beat anybody up. I want to just, I just want to put information out there. When we're looking at what officers do, there, I can see where Jared was just making a job application and trying to get the job done. And I was going to point that out. And I can get to where the city administrator is. Where are the city administrator's duties?
So the city's administrator's duties
Thank you.
were first, there's a version of those duties that's on American legal that's been codified. However, those have since been superseded on at least 2 occasions. The first being in November 2018, the city council voted to redo the entire section of the officers and employees ordinance. In that 2018 revision, building permits and other development related activities were assigned to the city administrator. In the update that the city council passed in November 2021, those responsibilities were carried forward into that update as well. And I can,
Okay, so I think I finally found it. It's 3103 is city administrator, and so I'm looking at 4A management, and like you said, I have an older version, and it says prepare organizational structure.
if it's an older version, I want to make sure we're working off the same. In case there's a decision tonight to change, we should change off what was previously approved.
Right, you're right.
I thought in 2021 that we just changed the code
code, building codes and updated them to a more recent date. I didn't know if we voted on changing the responsibilities of the city administrator.
There were
two
two,
separate.
they're in, August of 2021, there was a revision to the building code
Mhm.
ordinance, that simply repealed all other previous building codes and adopted the 2021
Mhm.
building codes.
Okay, yeah, I
And-
remember that.
Roughly 3 months later, in 2021, as we were preparing for hiring the chief of police, we amended the powers and duties of chief of police and had some small administrative changes to the powers and duties of the municipal administrator. Within that, the development-related activities, when the positions are vacant and unless otherwise delegated, the city administrator serves as a city planner, zoning administrator, building official, and historic preservation official in accordance with the city's ordinances, issuing permits, including subdivision plats, building permits, historic preservation approvals, and administer and enforce the provisions of all zoning provisions, be a non-voting ex officio member and secretary to planning and zoning commission to facilitate the development and negotiation of development agreements. And the previous paragraph under management, it describes overseeing and providing administrative direction, coordinating activities of all city departments, and delegating duties to city municipal officers and employees as appropriate. So when we were going through this hiring process with me serving as the building official and going forward with the job announcement, job description, the duties that are described in there are being delegated from the city administrator to the director of building planning and development. However, that describes when the position is vacant. City council could still choose to fill the position of building official, which would make that delegation kind of void, not appropriate, because it hasn't already been described.
It would make it otherwise delegated.
Yeah, make it otherwise delegated.
Delegated.
Right, so,
And it would be delegated to a
So
council
in other
member.
words, we don't need a building official and.
no.
Jared, nothing.
Jared is the city planner, the zoning administrator, and the building official at present. He is filling all of those roles.
So, kind of the way I look at this too is that you could be creating a department. Lisa and I had talked about that last night, that in bigger cities, this would be kind of the job description.
So
of
that's
the
been,
whole
that's been
department.
as you may recall, when this was first approached in June of last year, almost 9 months ago, when we started getting into the budget workshops. This was that workshop slide presentation. And I was in the conversation, and as I presented it to the city council, let's see if the person, yeah,
And that was
June 15th,
of 2021.
yes.
Thank you.
As I was looking at the notional organizational chart, and going through a review of the city ordinances, identified a number of positions that are called for or described in our ordinances, and tried to organize those within a table of organization. What you'll see is that building official, zoning administrator, city planner, historic preservation official, floodplain administrator, building inspector, municipal engineer. Those roles, if this city were to grow by 10,000 people and all those roles were filled because we'd have the budget to do it, those would likely be a part of a single building and planning department. And so when we were looking to fill this position, given the relationship with the municipal engineer, the building inspector with Bureau Veritas, having a government employee performing the inherently governmental duties not separate from contractors. Made sense that person be overseeing those activities in addition to fulfilling those roles. And so kind of the notes on the side were shorthand of describing what that would look like. Permits, code enforcement, planning activities, development agreements.
So one thing I wanted to explain too is that the permits take up a lot of time in the office. I mean, just the daily grind of greeting the citizens, determining what they need, giving them the proper forms, and then following up on each interaction. For someone to work 20 hours a week and do everything is probably not realistic. So this is my proposal that I kind of threw at Jared and we didn't even get to talk about it. I said, why don't we hire both candidates? Only 2 people applied for the job. And one candidate could possibly do the work in 16 hours, two 8-hour days, where he's greeting customers. A lot of times you have to go out to where they live and just look at things. Mike helped me do that one day where we're measuring things off and everything. And then hire Lisa as a consultant until we can decide how we want to change this. And then visit this again in like 3 or 6 months and determine, okay, what's working. I mean, that's my proposal. It's open for discussion.
What would be Lisa's title then, other than consultant? Because it seems like with all these gray positions, not gray being in color, that there's quite a bit of responsibility there that Jared was taking on, and you were doing the permits, and he was occasionally being a floodplain administrator, even though he's not a bona fide one. What do you want Lisa to do other than?
To help Jared.
That wouldn't be a consultant, that would be an assistant.
An assistant
Well,
to
I
the
looked
city?
up I also looked up consultant in all of our ordinances. It pretty much described a lot of what this job description is doing, but it doesn't change the ordinances. So by being a consultant, should be doing the same job, just not as an employee. I mean, it'd be still be an employee, but it would be under a different, yeah, it'd be a contract.
But she wouldn't have the title like building official, because if we have a building official, then we have to have a commission of 5 members, and then the building
just
official
put the
is the
board of
secretary.
That's
That
typical.
that already exists by operational law. It's a board that's provided for under the law, and if it's not appointed by default, it's the council. So it exists.
The only concern that I would,
Lisa herself gave me the idea.
the concern I would have,
As in that you found that on the internet.
Yes.
the
Sorry.
concern that I would have of hiring a consultant, whoever that might be, Lisa or otherwise, to perform some of these duties, is that the job duties that they would be performing would be, I consider to be inherently governmental duties to be done. It would involve determining city policy, applying city policy, interpreting city policy, providing direction and control to other city roles filled by the municipal engineer and the building inspector, and possibly others if additional people were hired. And then it would potentially, and it also deals with sensitive negotiations regarding development agreements and being the point representative on those negotiations. And so for those reasons, I think that having a consultant fill those roles would be violating some best practices regarding having inherently governmental duties being performed by employees rather than consultants.
And we've had consultants in the past.
You have questions?
Well, I just wanted to make a comment. So like, how come like whenever we have officers, we have 2 officers that make one full-time position, right? Or it's like how you divvy it up. Why can't we just, since there's so much work, divvy up the work between two part-time positions.
You could, I was making the comment regarding
Yeah.
the concept of doing a consultancy.
Yeah.
I don't,
And
I
I
don't know.
get, I get what you're, what you're saying about, there being, there's confidential information basically on the city. We have somebody that's just a consultant, that's not employed, a government, body. But yeah, I agree with you on that point.
And just for the records of the look, this is my LinkedIn profile. So thank you for letting me see that. The other, in essence, the difference between somebody who's a consultant receives a 1099 versus a W-2. So, our city attorney, I'm assuming you receive a 1099.
Everything that's tax related goes to my wife, who's an accountant. I don't know if it'll be fair.
As in, you're not an employee,
I'm not, I'm an officer.
an officer. And so therefore, in that case, when you were brought on, you determined your rate.
The city accepted the rate, but yes.
Accepted.
Are you a 1099 or W-2?
1099.
And our city engineer would be a 1099. Our,
No,
yes, he's not an employee. Our city engineer,
Yeah, he's a contractor.
who's, oh, I
Steve
was
Ramsey.
thinking, oh, I thought you meant Jerry.
oh, no, ma'am.
Well, like, there's a mention of consultants throughout the ordinances. Either an employee or a consultant.
Now, I do know that when,
Oh, well, I mean, what I'm looking at it is, you need help, you need help.
Yeah,
We need to help you, we need to help you.
yes.
And how can we get to that point? Because you got permits and you need help, which I totally understand, you're overwhelmed. So you two guys, we need to come together and decide how you want to do this. I mean, W-2 or 1099, or describe exactly what you want to call the title. So for me personally, I want to make sure that we keep the status quo, that decisions like replatting, rezoning, it goes to the council like it's always been. Because the problem is,
and it would,
okay, I'm just saying, the problem is, you might not be with us, you might not be with us, so we need to make sure that all important decisions, it goes to the council. So, but you two guys both need help, so I agree, you need help and you need help. And my question is, can we afford it, having two part-time employees?
When we still need to possibly look for another.
Well, that's separate, that's a separate deal. I'm just saying, for this point in time, you need something and you need something, y'all both need help, I totally
For a
understand.
shorter amount of time, we probably could.
So, yeah, I'm not sure
How long?
I'm not sure what difference it would make hiring two part-times and employees unless we're exceeding 30 hours, at which point we start running into needing to provide additional benefits.
But what she's saying, and that totally makes sense, you need help, you got your help assistant, and you need an assistant, you're non-paid, you don't make zero, you're paid, I know, I'm just saying.
Well, the
Is the issue the
office
number of hours that's
But what is
described
it?
in the? I guess I'm not understanding the problem.
Well, I
With-
thought
with
the
the-
issue was more so in the job description and which job description we're gonna refer to, because in one, it says that they're appointed by the city council, or the other could be to where the city administrator decides who is hired. So depending on what job description we go with,
Yeah,
Then we have
throughout
to
the
say-
ordinance, it says that the building official is
appointed by the city council.
city council.
I mean,
one spot.
you could make that, one easy approach to that is to nominate the director of building planning and development as the building official.
And they do that for free.
Well,
No.
I don't know why they would.
But no, you know what, are you talking about like appointing a council member to? Because I
No,
remember like council, like before, they had titles, like that's what they took care of. Do you remember, Jen? like, and then that's what they took. So when you're saying that, that's what I'm thinking, that that's why they didn't get paid for doing it.
I would highly recommend against doing that.
That was a different time. That's, I'm talking Bunk and Randy Bunker's administration.
Yeah,
That was a
but I
whole-
was just,
You were, you were there, weren't you?
I was in the meeting.
Yeah.
But, that's why I was just asking, whenever he was saying that. But like, I think like this, our town needs consistency. Like, I don't see like, why, part-time, could it be full-time? Could it be more hours? Could it be, like, I don't understand.
I think all of it's on the table.
Oh, okay.
But we got two people to please here. I mean, I totally understand. Both of you guys need, and Lisa does a lot. You do a lot of work. I'm a witness to that.
Yes.
There's a lot of work involved,
What?
Yes.
and I totally agree. So,
Well, it's not so much almost just pleasing them, it's trying to make the city be more of a functioning organization,
Exactly.
which we haven't been able to do in the past because either we have budget constraints for paying employees, or we have so many responsibilities that have been put on the back burner: codes, ordinances, floodplain administrator, all of these things have not been taken care of in a appropriate amount of time, or the mayor or the city administrator is putting in a lot more time
well,
than makes it cohesive.
we've had a lot to deal with. We got the hiring the police chief has been a long process. First of all, we had to, unfortunately had to, eliminate the police chief. And we're in the process, thanks to Jared and you, that we've done it right. And as I said multiple times, the city council from 11 years ago did not do their job. And that's why we ran into the problem with Harry. So there's a lot of things going on. There's a lot of issues coming up. And as we all know, we're fixing a boom. This area is fixing to boom. You need help and you need help, and you're part-time. So I totally agree with both of them.
And I feel like that's what Jared began to present, was what Sam just described.
Mm.
Let's look at this as a whole in order to begin to work out how to better function as a city. He figured out a way how to put in the budget for a part-time that maybe in the future could segue to full-time, but that's all that was afforded at this time. And I don't know if it has been, we're an open meeting here. I want to make clear that it's on the record that I applied for this job. We were looking at these,
Oh, I need to, we're not going to talk about people. We're just talking about the job.
okay,
Just not who applied for anything,
And
but just how we want
and I
the
had-
job to look like,
I got one more
or
point.
jobs.
Got one more point. Now, I've been in trouble by Mr. Ken here about quotas and all that stuff, but we are eventually going to hire an effective police force, and we will be able to have, how can I say it? They will be to the point that they can at least pay for themselves, because we've had that restraint, because our previous chief, that department had issues.
I don't think the issues were related
Mm.
to revenues being generated through their traffic enforcement activities.
I didn't say that.
I know, but I'm just putting it out.
I'm just saying.
Right now, we're going back to the question of full-time.
Just go.
Full-time is immediately feasible. The issue comes in as you start looking into future years. And in our 5-year spend plan, and when this budget was built, we were looking to receive a COPS grant and bring on a third full-time officer. So that capacity exists to grow into. It exists, we could afford it this year. When it gets to budget setting time in the summer, there's probably going to be some difficult decisions that would be approached for the next fiscal year. I did.
The police.
I'm talking about personnel
Personnel.
expenses. In terms of personnel expenses, the highest personnel expenses, main office and police department. No, this is important to answer the question regarding whether we can afford full-time, 30 hours, 20 hours, whatever you have. The city can afford it this fiscal year, without question. Next fiscal year is when you're going to start seeing some pinching happening within the budget. As that full-time salary benefit potentially, or 2 part-time salaries, start to chew into some of that budget excess that we had put in place to afford, a third police officer, that would be removed. And then it would start to eat into other areas of the city's budget.
Well, like if we're gonna hire a new city secretary, right, pretty
Let's-
soon.
Stop, but
But that's a lesser focus.
Yeah,
Stop,
please.
say.
Yeah, let's
We're not
not
talking
talk
about,
about.
we're not talking
So
about.
let's
This
just
is
think
a
about.
very powerful position.
How is
It's
it
a
powerful?
director,
Yeah.
and
How is it powerful when I'm not, whomever doesn't have a vote? If the information is given to the chair. And I'd like to ask a question, Kent.
and we need a lot of, we've got code enforcement officer and floodplain administrators that need to be official.
And that would be part of
That's part of
the,
the job.
absolutely, it would be. Kent, I need to answer a question.
Way too much. for me.
Based on our,
We need to start.
agenda that was posted on Saturday afternoon without notice to myself specifically. I don't know if other council members were aware until Monday when I opened my email.
Right.
And as it states that this was supposed to be an executive session, and I'm reading the statement that says, A, under 7A, discussion on the current selection of the Director of Building and Planning and Development
Right.
versus building official, as per the ordinance that was cited, 155.035, building official,
Mhm.
for the fact that it states current selection.
Well,
Is
that
it
wasn't
right?
that wasn't referring to a person. Current selection just means current selection of the
We
job.
need to
However,
decide whether or
currently
not this
selected.
position goes before the council.
So
Help
the
me, Kent.
position has gone before the council in a number of forums, beginning last summer when I presented this idea during the budget setting process. And then I've provided routine and regular updates for the last number of months. Is that, I guess I'm unclear on what,
Like, why are we confused?
Yeah.
Can I make a suggestion here? What I think needs to happen here. You and you need to sit down and come up with a plan. Do we make it one position? Do we make it two position? Two part-time? You need help. I think y'all need to discuss it.
I think where the confusion is coming in is like, the council, like what I'm hearing is confused. Should this hiring process, should it have been brought before the board? Does this
Which board?
position,
This
the
board.
council,
The
the
city
council,
council.
sorry. And it sounds like what I'm hearing is like, should this position be at the will of the council? Either if it's for, or say if something happens, if it doesn't, who does it fall under? Does it fall under the council, or does it fall under the mayor, or does
Or
it fall
city
under the city
administrator.
administrator?
And so if I may just to throw out, to kind of add to what you just said, it's my understanding, when we as a council collectively make a decision, be it the attorney, chief of police, city administrator, city engineer, city secretary, all of those positions are considered officers of the city. And they answer to the council. It's my understanding, this is not an officer of the city position. This is a staff position. And like I said,
That runs the city.
no, it does not run the city.
Okay, wait, so let's, that's that man's job to word it properly, okay?
And I didn't ask for his help.
You know, you can ask her, I really think you two y'all need to come together. I know we need to come together because you need help and he needs help and how the best.
Is that what the problem is? Is it simply, that's the problem, or is it the decision-making process, the problem? I'm still a little bit unsure what we're solving.
What you guys get. There's two kinds of people that can work for a city. You can have an officer. The local government code requires that the city have certain officers. The secretary, the attorney, the engineer, etc. The city may then, in its discretion, create by ordinance additional officer positions. Officer positions are by statute appointed by the mayor, confirmed by the council, and subject to removal only by a 4/5 vote of the governing body. There can also be employees, contract employees, full-time employees, part-time employees. The city can determine how it does that.
And based on what we have on the books, the city administrator has the ability to hire staff. Like,
Well, there's
Yes,
two
yes,
different
but-
ways.
Yes, but then the council still retains its statutory authority to oversee the entire, I mean, I can make arguments both ways.
I think this is a council decision. Ultimately, as a governing body,
Right,
the council makes the rules, basically.
right.
but based on the rules we have in place right now, and here's what I really want to ask Kent.
Uh-huh.
I want to put this all on the table. And I want to ask permission to do that based on the fact that it says current selection, because there was a selection made.
Okay.
May
You gotta ask the mayor.
I meant legally.
Well, I don't want, I want to
I was
just
asking
talk
legally.
about the job. How does the council want to vote as far as the job? Or should we divide it into, I mean, there's too much work to do everything for 20 hours.
This is a whole department.
Yeah, this is a whole
This is way
department.
too much. for
It's
one
too
person.
much
This
work.
should go from the council.
Well,
These should have been going to the council when,
5 years
5
ago.
years ago. And it's been going and going and going, and it's been coming to the table over and over.
Yeah, but
And,
it hasn't-
it has never been decided.
And
So
so
I guess
finally,
the
you're
question
And that's why we're behind in the
So-
office with minutes and things
So-
like that, is because we're doing too much work in the office.
so
So
can I,
then you get a mayor that's just doing clerical
so
work.
I'm oversimplifying this. We got an issue here. 1 20-hour-a-week employee is not gonna be able to do all this. So do we go with a,
Start small.
but that
Start
person can
smaller.
delegate as well.
Yeah,
let me say, do we want, what you're saying, you need help, he needs help. Do we want to have 2 20-hour?
well, maybe 2 16 hours, 2 days.
I do not approve of this.
Okay, hold on, Jan, just say.
2 16 hours, because that's 2 days. 20 hours is 2.5. And if you had 2 16-hour days, I think that would work pretty
And
good.
you know what?
So we would do that to save, the responsibilities are so closely related. I don't know why we would necessarily need to split them up.
Well, could you split up
Unless
the,
we're trying to do it from a budgetary perspective to save money on
No,
employee
wait, wait,
benefits
okay.
or.
No, that's not a budgetary. You need help and it's over, so you need help and you need help. And she's saying that one person is 20 hours a week, 16 can't do all this and what you need with permits, because your permits take how much time?
And Lisa said she has a stack of work.
So she's.
Some of that is, has just built up over time. It's backlog work.
Right.
You know,
Hey, can we say this? Can y'all two, I would like for y'all two to sit down and talk about it. What you want, and y'all determine, y'all come up with a plan.
I think the council needs to
Okay.
decide
And
what
this-
to do.
In this role, the way the mayor was describing it, 16 and 16, with the duties that are included, could you just split the duties in half between them? One zoning,
Yeah,
I mean, one,
I
You,
think,
you could, it would be, we might need to look at some,
God, what are these duties?
some changes in our,
Duties.
code of ordinances, because there's some overlap. Really what you would have is the separating the building official from the zoning administrator for all intents and purposes. In doing so, looking at our current ordinances, 155035, which was discussed previously, responsibilities participate in the staffing process of the following: building permits, zoning, specific use permits, special exceptions. So it covers both buildings, code enforcement, and zoning. And then as here, you know, specified code enforcement. The zoning administrator administers all the zoning ordinances and does zoning variance requests, specific use permits, rezoning requests, special exceptions. So there's a significant overlap in those duties. You could definitely have two people do it, and they just make sure that they coordinate and work together on these issues. But they're so closely related in a lot of respects that to me, it makes sense to have one person fill both roles.
And then it comes down to a point where like, I know like if my favorite lady is working, my favorite checker, I always want to go to her.
Yeah.
Because, you know, she's good. You know, you just get, maybe, I just, you know.
The way I understand it, right, if I'm reading this right, you want somebody with permits, when you have a permit.
yeah, I'm
Permits,
concerned
and
that
they do
there's too
permits,
much
and then
work
have Lisa
for.
do the zoning or whatever and development, have two separate things. That way you're insured, that you have help, and he's insured, he has help. And if we can afford it, have two people, and then you both have help.
Well, wasn't the lady that we had, wasn't she just in charge of permitting? I mean, the one that was there in the front office, Pamela.
Pamela, what she was doing was she was just doing the code enforcement, and she wasn't unable to dedicate as much time as we had hoped to that. But what she would do, she had dedicated 8 hours a week to code enforcement, and what she had done was go around and take surveys of properties, you know, drive around, take notes, and then began the coordination process with the chief of police, myself, on potential violations. And then we're beginning to go down the path of pursuing remedial action through Kent and whatever legal
But her
process.
title wasn't actually like a,
Her title was Assistant City Secretary for Utilities. And we gave her additional duties as assigned as a special project to work on code enforcement.
And I want to just throw in the fact that she was hired and in that position for several weeks before I, as a council member, even knew she had been hired, because that was the prerogative of the administrator. I'm going to ask for I'm going to be as respectful as I possibly can. And I'm going to ask for the fact that I was delayed and I did not submit it in advance. But Mayor, based on our agenda, will you allow me to go back to public comment? You can time me for 3 minutes, and I'd like to make one.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity. I wanted I want everything on the table and I want things done. I've always wanted things done clearly. Like Jared said, we've been talking about adding this position since June or July of last year. It certainly caught my eye because as chair and/or vice chair of the Planning and Zoning Department or Commission, I thought, wow, that fits everything that I have learned how to do and know how to do more than not since 2007. So the position was posted on the city's website and on TML. I found it and I applied for it. It was posted and the posting expired on December 23rd. I fulfilled what was required. I'm gonna have to get my water. I fulfilled the application process. Because of a lot of other things, it took a lot of time for it to come back around the bend. On Friday, I do believe it was the 25th of February. The week before that, Sylvia, what was the date? That was the deadline for submitting your application to run for council, the 18th of February. Still not having had heard about the position, yay or nay, I submitted my application on the 18th. On the 25th of February, the day that was the deadline to remove your name from the ballot, I received a phone call from Jared and the mayor on speaker offering me the position of director as it speaks. Verbally over the phone, I accepted it. I didn't ask about the other person. I did know there was another person. I didn't ask. In so accepting that position, it was evident that the only way that I would be able to fulfill that position would be to step down as a city council member and remove my name from the ballot.
Which has been done.
I have a copy of the document. I did remove my name from the ballot based on the fact that I was offered a position. After that point, Jared and I had several conversations, some via text, most via text, quite frankly. So in writing, a couple of negotiations, and we came to an agreement. Last week at our meeting, it was appropriate under his city administrator report to announce to the council the position has been filled, and it was announced that I would be the one taking that position. I have a letter in 2 different formats that I was with the expectation. We all talked as a council to go ahead and I would step down and go ahead and appoint the person who was running against me. Give the guy a head start. He's going to start in June anyway. Let's get some work done. There was some debate and talk about it.
4 minutes have gone by.
Thank you. My point that I want to make is that I was prepared yesterday to bring my letter of resignation to step down from this council so that I could accept officially the position that I was offered. And I'm only looking for the right thing to be done. Specifically, since we've been talking about this since June of last year, we should have dug in. If we had these questions, we should have dug in at that point And the last thing I'll say is that this feels very personal. My question is, would we be doing the same thing if the other person were offered the position? I'm not asking for an answer. I'll leave it at that. I wanted all of that on public record. Thank you for allowing me to see.
Back to what I said before. She's more than qualified to do the job. It comes down.
Isn't
Hold on,
about
Jan.
Lisa.
Jan, let me hold up a minute.
I have no
Jan,
problem with
Jan,
Lisa.
Jan. Goes down to the point is she
Why
needs,
are we
she,
talking about
well,
Lisa?
we're not talking, we're
Yeah,
talking.
let's not talk about.
I'm not talking
let's
about
just
Lisa.
talk
I'm not talking about Lisa. I'm saying is, you have a problem and you have a problem. She's been,
This is what I.
she's been, y'all had an agreement? Okay, fine. But you need help and maybe your suggestion of having another person help you with permits. I don't see the problem of having two people if you need help, because another problem we're gonna have, when Sylvia's gonna be leaving us, it's gonna be another void. We're gonna need help. You're gonna need help with that. So if we can afford the budget, is there a problem having two people? Is that a problem?
It sounds like we have been hearing it from the city administrator that we might face budget constraints in terms of hiring personnel by next year because of all these things that we're doing and creating right now. It's easy to say, yes, we can hire a part-time person for $17.50 an hour. But I think we should also look at the budget and say, where is this money directly coming from? How are these positions being paid for?
Okay, we could have, okay. He says we got money in our budget. We do have money in the budget.
As of this year.
We have money in the budget and we will have more money coming in mostly. Because we had a really bad year. We had a $50,000 police car we had to buy. I mean, we've had a lot of expenses, okay? But if we need help, I mean, I think that's a perfect good suggestion to have two people. And I mean, if y'all wanted to go behind and talk about it, now Lisa
Okay.
is more than qualified for her position, but I think if you need help and your main concern is.
Well, I think what we're.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah.
One more thing.
You've been saying a lot.
I always talk about, you know, that. I'm just saying is, I think nobody has a problem with Lisa. She's qualified. I'm saying you need help.
Right.
And y'all need to talk.
Well, and what I was asked to do and I wanted to do was just bring this forward. I don't think anybody saw this job application until just a few weeks ago. So
I didn't see it until a couple of days ago.
it wasn't
So
posted on the
I
website.
described the, everything you see in these job duties are nearly a direct lift from the existing ordinances, as you see from the zoning administrator, the building official, and it's directly related to how I've described the position for almost a year. So I'm a little, put it this way, how can I help you in the future? Separate this. If something comes up again, how do I better prepare council on topics such as this? If
Throw it in our face.
More on the PowerPoint.
Jan, did you have something you wanted to say?
I just have a problem with this heavy duty position. And when I noticed that we had a building official that needed to go through council, that I feel like this position should have been, we should have reached out a lot more than just on two sides.
the building official doesn't have to go through council,
And
but it may, if the council so chooses to vote to appoint somebody. Yeah, that's total, I think that's probably
I
where
feel
we're
like
at
that
now.
we should have
Is
had
if the council wants to decide to separate those positions, I think it's as simple as making a motion and voting on it, or to continue under the current ordinance.
I think we did. I think there's a building official right now.
But we have to do it every year, every new council.
Currently, I'm the building official.
Yeah, I know, we
Well,
we
And-
vote
I
for
think
Mayor
that
Pro Tem
is-
and
People
Mayor.
who
Mayor
are
is
doing
supporting
the
the city.
work is a building official, basically.
What's
I
that?
know,
Doesn't it look like?
he's the building
So
official,
today,
and I would report.
I'm the building official, zoning administrator, floodplain administrator, historic preservation officer, city planner,
And
city
then
administrator,
when you're not here, she is.
basically. And
Basically, but it doesn't mean that his, it negates him.
They need help.
not
A
negated.
director?
the reason for the director, why is it named director?
Why not
There's a
be a
couple-
manager or city planner assistant? or
I chose to
manager?
use the term director specifically because we're dealing with some heavyweight developers. And I wanted to give them an understanding of who they're talking to, has some authority and responsibility and is speaking on the voice of council and of the mayor and the city administrator in negotiations. Is to empower them during negotiations.
I know how to word it.
A typical director in this type of role at a large city is making like $150,000.
I know how to.
And I'll throw in,
Yeah.
who has the
How would
city's
you
best
word it?
interest at heart when doing those negotiations, and who has no vote.
How would you word it?
Building, planning, and development specialist.
There we go.
But the
Yeah,
thing
that's
is,
good. Yeah.
Can we change the title? That would make
Yes.
me feel better.
Specialist.
And take the word director
Yes.
out.
Yeah.
I'm open to that.
When I was discussing, I'm sorry.
We could, I mean, at the risk of making this too simple, this is not an officer position. And this council or any council, let's just say, Tom Landry walked in and accepted the job. He was brought back from the dead and rejoined the living. And Tom Landry was appointed to this position. And this council could say next week, you know, Tom, we don't like you. We're cutting your pay, we're changing the title, or you can hit the road. Because in Texas, we are an at-will employment state. This council retains discretion to do whatever it wants to. We could change the title of this position to Mickey Mouse's liaison. We could increase the pay to $100,000 a year. We could reduce it to $5 a week. Well, we couldn't, because that would violate minimum wage laws. But my point is, you guys can decide to do darn near whatever you want to do with this position. You can break it up into 4 positions. You can make it 1. You can call it a director, a specialist, a czar. It doesn't matter. You just need to pick what you want to do, and you can do it.
The term director is state.
And by the way, if you
So
don't,
is manager.
if you
So
don't,
is specialist.
if you don't like the job that someone's doing, if you do not like the job that an employee is doing, by a majority vote of the council, you can get rid, you can change.
but it seems like based on this job description and how during this public comment period that we just heard, that decisions have been made already about based on.
No problem with the decision
What?
You can-
made.
You have no problem with the decision made in
No.
regards to,
She was
not-
asking, why was this not brought before the council? So we're now bringing this before the council.
Which is fair.
Before the job was actually offered, we're giving the council a fair shot at seeing what the
Well,
job description is.
Well, it sounds like then someone on the council should make a motion to approve the appointment. Wouldn't that?
No, I like to make a motion to change the.
That's not fair. She's
the
already
position.
submitted her application.
But we have to base it on what it says in the
Okay,
ordinance.
I'm oversimplifying again. She's gonna do the same thing she's gonna do for Jared or whatever. If you wanna change the title to make it more suitable, the bottom line is she will
Would you
still
make a
be as part of staff.
Whatever you call it.
And, she's resigned, she has committed. So I think it's real simple to me. Whatever y'all wanna come up with a title or whatever, she's still gonna do what she's gonna do.
But there's, this
Decisions had already
isn't,
been
there's
made.
no,
Based on this job
there's
description.
nothing on here for, action.
It does. Under item 8, it says direction and action following the executive session. And I think that
So we
gives,
can go ahead.
I think that gives sufficient notice where if you want to act, you can.
I would also like to make a comment that any code enforcement and floodplain administrator decisions go through a contracted building code enforcer and floodplain administrator.
Well, it says in the job description that this person has to get the certification of being a floodplain administrator. It says it in the job
If
description.
they don't have it, those decisions have to go through those. And if we want, and if the director can choose to do that, to contract that out.
So here,
Let the attorney.
here would be my recommendation. If we can get someone to start jotting down notes, going around each council member and say, I want to see these edits to this, and then that can be, if you guys decide, that can be consolidated into a motion that can be made.
I think we should just make a motion based on this job description that the applicants have looked at and seen what the necessity of the jobs that we need. The applicants have read this job description. We have received people that have applied for this job. We have made recommendations of who we would like to see fulfill that. And so steps have already been made, whether it be in the ordinance that says the city council makes the decision or not. That's one I'm not clear on.
So the motion would be to
Or change the title to.
There you go. Dan. Go
Whatever
ahead.
special.
So for whatever it is worth, when it comes to titles, I believe when you pulled up my LinkedIn profile, I'll just read you the titles that I have had as a professional.
This
Well,
is,
except
they're making this about you, Lisa. It has nothing to
But
do
yeah,
with
it's
you.
not, no. it
You're
isn't.
qualified, and so we know that.
Jan, are there any other changes that you would make to the job description?
Well, whatever specialist she said.
Right, I mean-
Or a manager
That's a change,
or,
remove director and change to specialist or manager. Okay,
yeah,
but I mean, are there any other
what other
substantive?
specialist you would call
Oh, guru.
Coordinator.
Yeah, change to specialist, manager, or coordinator. That's fine. Okay. But I mean, substantively, are there any other changes that you would like to see to the job?
it besides making.
Well,
sure-
reports to the city administrator and the mayor.
I just don't think this was really fair to the person in this position is gonna be so overwhelmed.
Oh, and
I just don't see how
Okay.
they can.
Well, just because it's in the job description doesn't mean they have
That's
to.
way too much for
How
one
is-
part-time person.
Yeah, it's, this is not gonna help the
I keep wrapping my
office.
head around
This
it.
is
Let
not
the
gonna
mayor
help.
speak. Let
This
the
is
mayor
not gonna
speak.
help.
What's your concern?
Everything that goes on in the office. This is 20 hours is not, you're not gonna be able to do it.
No, but what it is going to do is it's going to enable pre-development meetings with someone who has, and when I use the word authority, I mean on behalf of the city, more so than a volunteer, as I've been. And I will follow the direction of the administrator, I'll follow the direction of the mayor, follow the direction of the
You
council.
just answered my question.
Okay,
We have a need in the office. The reason that we've gotten behind in the office is because there's too much clerical work.
Urban
And
planning, geography,
the city secretary has
construction.
graciously
civil
taken
engineering,
on
landscape.
doing all of these permits. There, I spend a full 2 days just talking to people and facilitating, doing what I do.
Building
So-
construction.
And I know Sylvia knows what I'm talking about because, we interact with a lot of people. The 20 hours is not enough. This is actually a full-time job.
Would we want to,
Go 3 days.
so we're just revising this to not to exceed 30 hours? I think that would be fine. And then especially as in the initial period, if they need to work up to 30 hours, that's almost 4 days a week. It's pretty close to it. 4 8-hour days would be 32. So 3.5 day to get caught up and get everything right. I think that would be
3
possible.
days.
Yeah, 3 days would be
Maybe
24
one
hours
day.
about. I think that's
And
totally
one
reasonable.
day's dedicated just to doing, and
Yeah.
then customers may, or citizens may have to suffer.
And is that in
I-
office or?
I'm not sure what the suffering.
And
If
Well,
they
you
don't
know,
get their
what-
questions answered.
Well, it'll be done more efficiently
You know-
than it had in the past.
Yeah. it's good.
Both of you guys are right. I mean, you know, because you've been dealing with it for 3 years, and you're right because you've been here for what, 6, 8 months.
Yeah, I'm here
You,
5
so-
days a week.
I don't see the problem here if it's two people, if Lisa's gonna be full helping Jerry with development agreements and replanting and all that. You need help with permits, so I really don't see a problem of having another person part-time to do permits.
Yeah,
That's fine.
I think that would be ideal
I
because
mean,
this
listen, I mean,
other person that applied for the job,
7
I
jobs.
think he's
And
very,
one more
very
thing,
detail oriented.
I can say one more thing, please. She's here all the time. You're here 1 day a week. You don't know exactly what she's going through because you're not here 4 days a week. I mean, I don't see the problem. We're all in agreement. Lisa, she's been hired for the position. She's been hired. She resigned as city council. She deserves.
She's got a job with the city.
She's got a job in the
Period.
city.
She's got a job with the-
So if
Not
the difference between 2 16-hour people and having somebody perform duties up to 30 hours, talking 2 hours a week.
I'd
Is
rather
that-
have
is that
one
the-
person doing
Yeah.
30 hours than 2 16 hours. I'd rather have one person
continuity.
sticking to these responsibilities.
I disagree.
Now, I assume you have another job.
As in JOB,
Yeah,
That's,
I do not have another W-2 currently.
but you
Right.
have,
I have
Job.
clients, I'm
Yes.
a life coach and a business consultant. Let me ask you a question, Mike.
Yeah.
Did you have any idea until we began to work together what I actually did?
oh, you do a lot.
I don't.
I totally agree, but I'm just getting back to the
Yeah,
this
point.
isn't about
This is
you.
Yeah,
not
we
a
can't
job.
do
You
that.
got the job.
No,
We
no,
can't-
no, it's about, you need
What's
help,
best
you know,
for
in
the
city,
city.
and it's like, 'cause I really don't see the problem.
You're making-
You're hired, done, we've done it, you're hired. Okay,
That's
if you
not
wanna
the
change the
question.
title, no big deal, you're gonna do the same thing anyway. You know, I've had different titles in my career. Doesn't mean, to me, it means nothing. The bottom line is, you're gonna be working X amount of hours for X amount of pay. You need help, and we can afford it at this point. You need somebody that you can say, I need, now, Lisa might be busy and say, when you got permits coming in, and she has to go do something. You, as the mayor, want to go talk to the county commissioners or whatever, you can't do it because you got to do permits. I don't see the problem here. I think we're,
So how would this work? If a motion were made to allow the mayor and the administrator to collectively bring on board 2 individuals to work for the city, one to assist the mayor with permits, the other to assist the city administrator with planning, zoning, and development issues, with those 2 individuals taking no more than X number of hours a week. What is it, 30 or 32?
Either one.
The city council can choose the hours.
30 hours a week with the individual assisting the city administrator performing the duties as directed by the city
Okay,
administrator.
yeah, if there's 2 individuals, you probably want it to be 32, so it's multiples of 8.
That's fine.
So 32?
Yeah, I mean, essentially what it does, Jan, is it takes away all of these lengthy things, and it just simply says this person is going to be hired in a yet to be named position to assist in planning, zoning, and development issues, working with the administrator.
But that says nothing about codes and ordinances too. I mean, that's been a major problem in this city, is not
But
enforcing.
they would delegate that to the people that's working under them.
Correct.
They would delegate that.
I would actually have the ability, because I'd be reading it, which I've done for years, and brought to the table and requested it to be on the agenda. and
Well, then it would
that's
have
also-
to
Also,
be
some
in
of
the job
the
description.
planning and zoning committee
It could be just a
Needs.
suggestion. You would have to take it. If you
is already having to do that.
I think that's a great idea.
say that again, Jan, I'm sorry,
The
Ms.
planning and zoning committee already has to do that.
Codes and ordinances?
No, not code, no.
No,
No?
no.
No. I, as an individual
Yeah, well, any,
who has watched
Yeah,
over the years,
so
I get it, but we can't,
Keep beating it.
not that, but we can't have conversations about any one particular council member because no one else can be here to lobby for a position. But the point is, if you guys want to make a motion tonight to create two positions yet to be named, you can do that.
I'm ready.
Go for it.
I just had one little thing. I just wanted to ask, like, will we be able to see like details, like days? Is it here? Is it the pay? Or is all that decided afterwards?
You can pick. You build, if it's important, you can make a motion, and then if you want to discuss those
Okay.
things.
We can see all that now.
In executive session, I can provide you information regarding what the negotiated wages were for under the current offer.
Okay, so
That's fair.
I would like to go ahead and make a motion to create two
for the.
two
mayor
positions for the mayor and the administrator, one to assist with permitting, one to assist with planning and zoning, no more than 32 hours with the individuals assisting with, one individual assisting the city administrator and one individual assisting the mayor as needed.
I second that.
Did I miss something?
That's it.
And we'll try this for 6
Um,
months? Is that what?
If someone wants to make a friend, now,
No, sorry, but you can't give, unless they're being told at the time that they're applying for a position that it's a temporary position.
No,
We cannot put a stipulation that this arrangement only lasts 6 months.
but to be very clear, there is a different standard. Officers for a city are hired to serve until they either resign or are removed by a 4/5 vote of the council. Employees who don't have a contract of specific duration serve at will. And so this council could come in next week, a special meeting could be called to vote by a majority vote of this council to terminate any employee of the city. That right remains at any point in time.
So if somebody wanted
No.
that, they would have to amend my motion.
No,
If-
that's already standard.
If your,
Oh,
Okay.
if your motion passes,
Mhm.
then an announcement could be made tomorrow, next week, whenever it is. The mayor and Jared could say, 2 individuals have been hired, and here are these individuals' names. And then a month down the road, someone could say, I think individual X is doing a poor job. Put an item on the agenda to have them removed, present information, and this council could say, you know what, we agree, that individual's doing a poor job, and we're voting to get rid of them. You can do that at any time with any employee of the city.
And these two positions will be working different days.
Not
We
necessarily.
haven't decided that.
however you want to do it.
I mean, you wouldn't believe how many calls I answer on Friday.
But you would just think for consistency
Yeah, I'd like to
that you
see-
could just on the website say this day, or,
I'd like
you
to
know,
see
whatever.
somebody work.
I would tell you, as whether it be chair, vice chair, co-chair, whatever you want to call it, my personal policy as a volunteer is if my phone rings, I answer it. And if I spend 47 minutes or an hour and 47 minutes helping that potential resident and or developer through the process, that's what I do.
Gotcha, okay.
Was one of these positions being hired as the building official? Because that was a point of discussion earlier. I just want to make sure that I know how we're splitting this baby.
Well, the point of discussion when I was talking about building official is that this document resembles a building official.
It was,
And therefore, it should come before the city council. That was my only
And
argument.
I agree with that. Does everybody else agree with that?
The bill, but we're gonna change the title, correct?
so what's the,
They're
Our
gonna,
ordinances have changed 07, 08, 2013, 2018,
so I'm reading the
2021.
wrong ordinance.
Yeah, we're looking at older things that have been repealed.
How does this motion that has been made, how is that going to work and coalesce into the decisions that have already been made in regard to this job description and the selection that has already been made? How are we going to work that motion into what's already been
He's gonna
decided upon?
present that to us in an executive session and let us know, they're gonna work it out between them, the duties amongst both of the two individuals. He's gonna present that to us in an executive session, and then we either say yes or no when we come out of executive session to put that into place.
we want to do that tonight?
Well, let me ask you a question. Would you like to reveal what we kind of line by line talked about yesterday evening?
Well, the person in the office, if they were dealing with residential homes and residential.
There's an extra cup up there.
Now, and this person, of course, has to go through Jared.
Bathroom.
For code enforcement, give the proper signatures and letters and, and then anything other than residential goes up.
There's a.
So basically,
Sam,
what she just said,
to answer your question, the council is not beholden.
Me, my question?
Right, your question.
Yes.
The council is not beholden to this job description. The council could say, yeah, thank you, but we want to do something different, which is effectively what the council is saying tonight. The council is saying, the mayor needs help with permits. The administrator needs help with planning, zoning, development, and building. And so what we're going to do is we're going to, if this motion passes, we're going to bring two individuals on. One's going to work directly with the mayor to assist permitting. The other is going to work directly with the administrator to help with building, planning, and development issues.
And I think that'll be good for the city.
Right.
Yes.
and so I just want to reveal that the mayor and I did discuss the bullet points on there and removing building permits from this job description.
Residential building.
Residential building permits. And
Y'all work out those details later. Let's just decide on this motion.
I thought you
Those
were
need-
doing now.
Well,
We're
is that?
discussing.
Yeah.
We're discussing.
I know you had to go on.
Wait, wait, wait,
We're all
wait, wait,
discussing.
wait.
We're
No,
discussing.
we don't have to.
I thought y'all
Just
said
to
we're
discuss the
gonna give it
wages.
to y'all, y'all can, you're gonna bring something back to us, right?
Well, it's up to the council. Do you want to, you could, after this particular motion that's on the table, you could do another motion to adjourn, or you can make a motion to go into
You're not
executive
doing my
session
job.
and.
This right here, this is Jared's wish list. Jared is saying, if I could wave my magic wand, someone's gonna help me do all of these things.
Correct.
Yes.
That-
And
that-
this
this-
is more
this
of a,
This is what Jared wants help with.
I just think the
Yeah, it's a
title was
wish.
just that.
That's fine.
Okay, so Sonia made a motion. Who seconded it?
But if we need to go into executive session now, we can.
I'm ready
Well,
to
let's
go
pass
into
this one.
executive.
Well, just a minute, we gotta vote.
Pass the motion. We gotta-
So we have a motion and a second. Jan, how do you vote?
Yeah,
Sam, how do you vote?
Yes, and this, well, two positions, and what was the hours we said?
32,
No,
32.
no more.
no more than 32.
Total
That's
for
six.
the two people,
Yeah.
16 each.
Mhm.
Oh, that, I misunderstood that.
Yeah, that's,
I misunderstood that. I heard
2 days.
I don't, well, listen, I will tell you, I think that the motion is made, gives great autonomy and discretion. It allocates 32 hours. I do believe that the mayor and the administrator could collectively work and say, hey, I need a few more hours this week. I can give you a few hours. But essentially, the way I think the motion was made, it gives them autonomy and discretion to work together to allocate those
at
32 hours.
least 16 hours apiece.
But maybe, maybe not. Maybe 1 week Jared says, I've got a skimpy week. I need 6 hours this week. Mayor, you need, doesn't say they've got to use them all, but it gives discretion to use 32 hours a week between 2 different individuals for 2 different positions.
When is a position considered part-time and full-time? Is it 32-hour threshold then with one person?
30.
under 30 or under is part-time. For an individual.
I think it depends on the city or.
No, it doesn't, that's law.
Yeah.
It's legal, I mean, it's,
30.
So the Fair Labor Standards Act or something.
Yeah, 30.
So you can teach.
it's like you can't.
Yeah, I
limit your
agree. I think
16
too. I think
officials.
it's, I think
One of
it's
those
a brilliant
Yeah,
suggestion
I
you
guess
made.
you,
That takes care of both of them.
And what that means is that you
Okay.
don't have to pay benefits.
And Lisa, how do you?
No, no.
Can't vote.
Yeah.
Did Sam register, did you register or vote, Sam?
I said yes.
Okay.
But doesn't she have to have the opportunity to
No.
abstain?
I just- I
No, no.
recuse
You
myself.
Okay, so the motion carries.
Well, let's see, Sonia, you.
Does it matter for the purpose of the minutes whether there's an abstention or a recusal?
It's free anyway.
I'd like to ask council members, do y'all feel like executive session tonight, or do you want to do it later?
I think tonight,
But no.
we'll do it. It'll be
What about
quick.
you?
Real quick, it was an abstention or a recusal, just for the minutes.
She is recusing herself.
Do you want-
Easy, okay.
I'm flexible.
Yeah, I got it.
No.
Okay, it is
Come on.
8:06. Does anybody need a break or? do you
Now
need
let's
to
get
go?
her done.
Okay, so it's
Yeah.
8:00, well, basically 8:07, we'll break into executive session.
We don't have to make a motion for that? Or is it your decision?
Well, it was already on the agenda.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so we'll now open the executive.
Hold on. We're still got an audience and
Oh,
to
sorry.
clear the room.
Sorry, y'all have to leave.
Don't let the door hit you really good, Lord, split it.
Oh,
Mr. B,
Can you help Miss Mamie home,
Me help me,
and
yeah.
walk Miss Mamie home.
please?
Catch a break.
Amy said that she- I'm host again, or, yeah, I'll reclaim host. So we have a live mic, live video feed. We're up and running. Get my video.
So
We're good to,
we're ready to go
Open.
back into open session. It's 8:23 p.m. And the council has decided to create 2 part-time jobs. And so we need a motion as to salary, I guess.
so the 2 positions were created, with the motion that was approved prior to going into executive session. Nothing to report coming out of executive session. But to the extent that this council wants to make a motion on affirming the appointment of any particular individual to one of those positions, including any rate of pay, that motion could be made.
I don't know, I think we need to make a motion on developing the 2 positions a little bit more in detail and then come in.
Let's talk about that process. Does the city council want to make those decisions? Or do you want those decisions to be made by the mayor and myself? Does it?
Because y'all know what y'all need.
Y'all know what you need to do.
Okay, so then I think what you're saying is there any particular individual that you would, that either the mayor or the administrator would like to have fill the position assisting them?
The other person that applied for the job was Lee Ross.
Okay. And Jared, is there anyone that you want to have fill the position to assist you?
Lisa Shell Allen.
Okay, got it. And is there any particular rate of pay that you would recommend for that?
I would like to recommend that to hire Lisa Shell Allen at a rate of pay of $20 an hour to assist in the duties that will be described in the offer letter.
And what would the title of that position be called?
Zoning administrator and development coordinator.
If those are the things that you're asking for, then someone can make a motion to approve those things.
Can you repeat that? Zoning what?
Zoning administrator and development coordinator.
So I make a motion to appoint Lisa Shell Allen as a planning and zoning coordinator.
Zoning
Zoning administrator and development coordinator. Economic development coordinator. Let's put it that way.
Economic development coordinator.
Economic development.
Zoning administrator, which is a position already described in our ordinances. And then economic development coordinator.
Is there a job description for that development
Wait a minute.
coordinator anywhere?
It is not specifically described.
It's implied.
The duties of a zoning administrator are described in section 155036.
Where did the economic, where did that come from?
Economic development coordinator, that's related to section 156 relating to development agreements. And then it likely would also include coordinating activities relating to subdivision applications, along with the building official.
We don't want to throw codes and ordinances in there as well?
No,
Oh, okay.
that would be the building officials.
And I think any motion needs to be that the employment is effective and is only effective upon the resignation of Lisa Shell Allen from city council.
Pick one. As a date, one as,
Planning and development.
I would
How
say-
about building, planning and development coordinator?
That's,
Yeah,
Then what are we calling the other position?
It doesn't matter.
We had SAD permits. Where was that?
What,
you
what,
put the word building in
I think I like to stick to terms because we are having this issue today, to terms that where they apply or where they're described specifically in the ordinances that we operate under, that
Yeah. I
You-
agree
you-
with
Other
that
councils?
also.
I
The
don't
word
agree with
building indicates,
It's on the agenda. It says Director of Building Planning and Development, so it's simply changing it to Building Planning and Development Coordinator. So
Yes.
it is highly consistent with the agenda.
Okay.
For with. for
And we're sticking to that.
That's
That
one, and the
language,
other one would be
yes.
some kind of permit specialist.
But the motion is only regarding,
Yes, I did have a
I
problem
still
with
need to
him.
add the other. But the,
Say it to all of us. Say it.
I have a problem with having a zoning administrator and a building official, however you are zoning administrator, zoning administrator and whatever with the other one.
economic development coordinator.
Economic, yeah. Because then that just ties that down. It doesn't make it flexible enough for if the council wants to,
but you still can.
but you still do.
You still can, at any time.
Yes, I know.
That
As-
person
as-
Well,
as-
then I think that's way too long. I think building planning and development coordinator would be perfect.
Yeah.
And with the other position, y'all still have to,
So
I would like to request that the name includes zoning administrator. Or if we do anything at all, it is zoning administrator. Because that is a position that's duly defined in our ordinances, describes those duties in
building
detail.
official and zoning administrator can be
so what you can do,
approved by council.
you can,
And
Here's the issue I'm facing. So
why you can't, why,
when we got into this discussion, it is because there are two areas in our ordinances regarding to roles and responsibilities that relate to land use regulations of some type, buildings, zonings, flood, etc. One area says the building official is appointed by the city council. The other says if the building official is vacant, then it's the city administrator. And the city administrator does yada, 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 yada. What I want to make sure it's clear is that the other person is either being hired as the building official or is not, because if that building official remains vacant, then then it's up to me to do it again.
Okay, then let's do what you want.
Or we go with coming up with a name and try to figure it out later. But at least by using terms that are already in the ordinances,
I agree.
we'll keep that clean.
so why didn't you do that in the first place?
Because I was rolling them all into one.
so
Not two.
the motion would be the title would be Building Planning and Development Coordinator, with the council approving the Building Planning and Development Coordinator serving in the role as
Building official and zoning.
building official and zoning administrator.
And you're back to the
You're
same
back to the
exact
same
job description we have today.
What I heard him say was that the title of the position that I applied for,
Unless we want to create a situation where the building planning and development coordinator has, and then there's a separate building permits technician.
and it's gonna take
That's a very low level clerical role.
and it's gonna take
Then there wouldn't be the conflict with that building official responsibility floating out there.
Yeah, he has to have some flexibility, or whoever that person is, to be able to do the job. So building official, what did you want to name the two people? You
well,
wanted Lisa to be development coordinator and zoning administrator,
Zoning administrator and economic development coordinator.
and economic development.
But if that other position is building official, he would be doing the permitting, but then also if he needed to, could jump in on some of that.
The person, the building,
Yes.
the job duties, responsibilities of the building official, the job duties and responsibilities of the building official are described in our ordinances on 155.035.
Then I like that.
Building,
155.
review and participate in staff processing of building permits, zoning variance requests, specific use permits, rezoning requests, special exceptions, code enforcement, and serves as chief and code
So
enforcement.
therefore,
Well,
necessary, we can work together.
That's good.
Exactly.
Yes, I like that.
Zoning administrator and economic development coordinator.
And then,
And the other is
the
building
other is
official.
building official.
Uh-huh.
That's his title.
And that has to be appointed by the council.
Doesn't have to be, but in this case, we would want it to be.
And is that position an officer of the city?
No.
And it doesn't say that it is.
All right,
When I
so
was
it's
reading the
changed.
ordinance.
So there's two positions of the same type.
No.
Okay,
Two
then
different-
what are we?
Building official,
There's two sections of our, there, in a subsequent, 155.035, building official. And it describes what a building official does. The next paragraph is zoning administrator and describes what the zoning administrator does. What I'm asking for is that the city council leave open the building official, which will be that appointment will happen at a second separate council meeting.
Okay.
And then tonight, I'm asking that you affirm the appointment of the zoning administrator. In addition to the zoning administrator duties are enclosed here, the title includes economic development coordinator because of its close relationship to development agreements, projects within the ETJ, and subdivision plating requirements.
which is what I've been doing.
So we're looking at a zoning administrator and a building official. And why can't that just be in the job duties?
Why
That's
can't
what
it?
he's pointing out
That's what I'm saying.
in the ordinance.
Okay, I make a motion that the position to assist Jared be titled what?
Zoning administrator,
And economic.
development coordinator.
Zoning administrator,
And economic development,
economic development
coordinator.
coordinator. And that position receive pay of what?
$20 an hour.
$20 per hour and be filled by LSA.
Subject to resignation.
Just a minute.
Subject to resignation from council.
CC.
Okay, I make a motion that the position to assist Jared be titled zoning administrator and economic development coordinator. And that position receive pay at $20 per hour and be filled by Lisa Shell Allen, subject to resignation from council.
Mhm.
Is that okay?
Yes.
So
And then
you-
what about the other position?
what,
Let's do,
I don't
can
think
we
we're-
deal with that another time?
Yeah,
We're so close.
We're so close.
did
We're
we make
so
a
close.
motion that there were two positions already, right?
And then what, you come back, if you want to do it tonight, you can, or if you want to come back at the next meeting with something more specific.
Because didn't you make a motion before that
Yeah.
we had two positions?
Yes.
So we're good.
Okay, so I would like to make a motion that the position to assist Jared be titled the zoning administrator and economic development
Coordinator
coordinator.
and
And
that position.
that position receive pay at $20 an hour and be filled by Lisa Shell Allen once she, subject to
Resignation.
resignation from council.
Lawyers run as bad as doctors.
Lawyers are doctors.
I second.
But yes, you're right.
I heard a second.
Bunker.
She's seconded by Jan.
And then, okay, just to clarify, is this a city position? Is this a,
Yes,
It's not a contract.
both of them are.
it's not a contract position?
They're a
it's
staff position.
Part-time city staff
Mhm.
position. Okay.
And you're gonna work in the office.
Where the hours is?
I'm gonna flex
This-
Tuesday,
this-
wherever
this-
there's a
this-
place.
Because
I would be
I'm
like-
worried about that second position not having a place there.
I have
Unless
always been
y'all share an
available.
office.
They'll
And
work
work
it out,
different
they'll
hours.
work it out.
I've always been available.
They won't be here at the same days,
Yeah, they'll work it
or,
out.
you know.
Yeah, they can.
They can work it out.
Sometimes they probably
You've
need
got a
to.
motion and a second.
Yeah, I have a motion and a second.
What about
Right.
the other motion, though, that was 16 hours, 2 16-hour positions that was made prior? And if we're saying,
That was already
That's-
approved.
We're working at details, yeah.
The 16 hours portion wasn't, the 32 hours in total was. So there wasn't a decision on 16 hours.
If we
oh,
need
so
to
the
change it.
20
we
is
can
being
do it.
absorbed out of the
There's
32?
no determinative amount of hours being allocated.
And we can change any of that at
Yes.
Okay.
the motion. Okay?
So it sounds like
Get
that
down the
prior
nitty-gritty.
motion doesn't even really exist.
Do we want Lisa or not?
No, that's not true.
No, it's not true.
Sam.
It
Okay,
does. It does.
it does,
does
based on the
exist.
total amount of hours
It
that are
does.
allocated for those two said positions.
Yes,
We've nominated somebody and they're gonna fulfill 20 hours and we have,
Negative.
32 hours.
Maybe not. Right now, there's 32 hours
available.
available. 32 hours to be divided
Person,
between
18 hours.
the person assisting Jared and the person assisting the mayor as they see fit.
And in the motion that's right here, it doesn't have hours.
It has 20,
Not,
$20 an
not
hour.
this one.
not on the economic zoning administrator.
No.
It just says
Oh,
pay
it
and
says the
pay.
rate of pay is 20.
Yeah, okay, let's, and let them figure out the hours.
Okay,
Mike, how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Lisa? No, you already used me, seconded it, and you motioned,
Mhm.
and Sam, how
yes,
do you vote?
yes,
And I
yes.
recuse.
Unanimous.
Is that recused, or what did we call it?
Yeah.
It is recused.
Abstain.
Abstain.
Democracy in action.
Okay, good.
For the
I
record.
have a motion to adjourn.
For the record, would you like to read that?
Yeah, so I've received a letter of resignation from Lisa Shell Allen from her place on council. This, my understanding of the effect of that is after 7 days, it becomes in effect, or the city council chooses to hold another separate special session, they could accept it
So
at that time.
7 days after today.
It, by default, it is accepted.
Won't you stay with us till,
Well, she still has 7 days.
no, I'm saying, stay with us till May?
Okay. I make a motion, we adjourn.
A second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Well done.
I'm gonna say aye, aye, aye.
Let's pack up the champagne.
Oh.
That's technically what a lawyer is a doctor.
I think so.
And I do.
It's about writing.
Okay.
Okay.
Good night, folks.
Draw
Mm.
the layout, and then I put it in.
Congratulations, Lisa.
Thank you, Mama.
Congratulations.
I look forward to
Congratulations.
I look forward to lots of good work. I do.